Michael Gray Griffith, it is so good to catch up with you at long last. I mean, we've talked off air, but I think a lot of people look. My feeling is a lot of people in Australia and New Zealand held our communal breath when you were in hospital, with what seems a lifetime ago. And for people who aren't aware, just give us a quick update on what happened and an update, more importantly, on how you are now.
Well, I was living in complete delusion, hoping that these chest pains would just fix themselves. And eventually, because I was just working so hard and I didn't want to go into hospital either. And to be honest, I was tired, and part of me was actually thinking, well, if nature wants me, maybe I just sign out. Maybe that's my time. And then I was outside Dr. William Bay's apartment, and Kelly was asleep, and I always was having pains at night, but I'd shift around and try to move them. And then this night, the pains just wouldn't go away. And about 4 o'clock in the morning, I grabbed my sink and I had a heart, and I thought, oh, this is it. And then after it passed, I thought, okay, still here. And I looked
Wow.
down and Kelly was asleep. And I just thought, okay, let's keep going. And I just woke her up. I said, I think we got to get to the hospital.
That was
And
in the bus. You were in the bus. Dr. William Bay was in his apartment, so you had a
yeah, but we
doctor
couldn't reach
nearby.
him. He was asleep. I was going to ask for an angina pill or something like that because he was doing GP rounds. But instead, we packed the bus up and we drove to the nearest hospital. And
And
that was
Kelly,
it.
I remember the story where Kelly was driving around and around trying to find a car park, and you were very, very close to death. You were very unwell, Michael. I
Yeah,
I
and there was
talked to you.
one junkie in front of me, I think trying to get free drugs, so they were faking it, and I was standing behind her fading. I could feel myself fading, and I was thinking, please hurry up. Ironic that I can't get here. And the nurse was so annoyed with this um drug addicted person that I thought by the time I get to the window, she's going to be furious because she's South African accent and I just went up and she went like, yes. And I went, I think I'm having a heart attack. And bang, gone. She was beautiful. Just got me in, wheeled me off. And I got on the conveyor belt to life.
It's incredible. And a lot of us, and you addressed this when you're in hospital, you did some extraordinary writing. You did some
Oh,
amazing.
thanks, Liz.
We talked even when you were in hospital. You said, I expected the staff to be what COVID had been, which was, brutal and prepared to be heartless and cut people out of the system and not look back, not even care. But you said you found the very opposite, didn't you, Michael?
Yeah, well, I thought they'd be a bit standoffish at the very least, but in fact, they were just beautiful. They were just in the trench with us, fighting to keep us alive. All the people that were in my ward or in the different wards I was in, I was moved around a lot. And but the thing that amazed me the most is we've had 5 years of us basically being an us and them war, and spiritual war even. And as far as they're concerned, there's only them. They are unaware that we exist. And I think what happened is if COVID came, you didn't want to take it, but if you did take it and it didn't affect you, then if you did that on a Monday, Tuesday, if you weren't affected, you just got back to your normal life and you just moved on. If you didn't take it, then you were kicked out of society and you began an odyssey, which many of us are still on. So
Yes.
we've been on these enormous, and it's more than a journey, it's an odyssey. We've had to find strengths, we've been arrested, we've been shot, you've been beaten up by cops. All these things have happened to us, but to them, nothing's happened much. And so they're literally unaware that there's any resistance. And I was always looking, thinking that they were hiding that. But the more I sort of quietly questioned, I remember one nurse going, we brought up myocarditis, and she's in the cardiac ward, And she just went, "Oh, yeah, we had a lot of that for a while." That was it.
That's what's incredible. Now, I'm talking to midwives who are very attuned and in the system they're in. They're saying it is vastly different post the jabs. There are
Yeah.
so many stillbirths. There are so many miscarriages. There are so many mothers suffering in the birthing process. And these women are waking up fast because they've never seen anything like it before. But I would have thought all of the nurses and doctors would have said, yeah, we know something's wrong. But you're really saying a lot of them just, oh, well,
Well,
that's
they
what's
didn't say it to
presenting.
me. I
Wow.
had Cafe Log on the top of my laptop. They saw it all the time. They didn't say it to me. I never had one. The only thing I had is I had one warder who came in once, and when no one was looking, he looked around and he said, "I saw your video." That was it. That was all I got.
That's,
So the rest of the time, nothing. No. And so yeah, I don't know what to make of it. I only go by what I see and what I saw and what I think theorizing. Like there's all these nurses that had left because they actually asked me. They come up and go, "Oh, you live in a bus? Oh, that's so good. I always want to live in a bus. What do you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm an independent journalist." They go, "Oh, great. And who do you interview?" Well, a lot of doctors and nurses who lost their jobs because they want to take the COVID jab, and they're like, "Oh, there was an
nothing.
innocence." So I don't know
Wow.
if it was that ward. They're not in the the ward of where the people have been born, whatever you call it. Sorry, my head's a bit slow at the moment. The maternity ward. So maybe that. Maybe because they do shifts, they don't talk to each other. But all these nurses that got sacked, I think what they do is they sack them brutally. Either they get an email, they don't come back to work,
Mm.
or they just walk out one day, no matter how long they've been on the job, and there's no fanfare, no
Yes.
card. They're just gone. And then so if you're at the hospital and you have this level of fear that you just live with now, which says stay silent, if in
Yes.
doubt, shut up. And they go, I wonder where that person's gone. I don't know, but I'm not going to ask. So they just go on.
I think that's it more. And I've interviewed, and I bet you have nurses and teachers and doctors who've been in practices for ages who were just got rid of as if their contribution mattered not one jot. Like some of them
Absolutely.
30 years. And it
Yeah.
was another way to brutalize and say, you never mattered anyway, and your contribution was never appreciated, which it was, but to those people in the bureaucracy, it didn't. God, it was a brutal time.
Can I
How,
give you one? I'll give you the best antidote, best story of that. It was in that town you came to, Colac, where you came and saw the
yeah,
brothers play.
and saw your
So
play.
there's a tiny little hospital there. A nurse had been working, I think, over 35, almost 40 years, didn't want to take it. At the end of one of her shifts in the evening, she's just going to leave, no fanfare. 30, 40 years in this tiny little town, knows everybody. Outside, there was about five or six people dressed in white with balloons and thank you for your service cards and stuff like this. And they'd been cleaners, wardies, maybe another nurse or something, just this group to celebrate this woman's life and years of work. And they called the riot squad on them,
You are joking.
the hospital. So the riot squad turned up to arrest these people.
Was this at the height of the madness? 22,
Mm.
21, 22. My God, it was brutal. Was
Yeah,
that
it's brutal.
that was
People
under
forget it.
Daniel Andrews? That was
Let's
under
be
Andrews.
let's be honest. The reason people don't want to talk about it is because they don't want to face the fact that in an afternoon they became Nazis,
Yeah,
and they did. They
yeah.
did. I'm sorry, but they did. They were told to hate, and they hated. And if they'd come to your house and the police had pulled you away, taken you somewhere to a camp, they would have just closed their curtains and hid, and then just got on with their lives. Let's be honest.
Oh,
That's
there's
why we talk about this.
yeah.
Something happened to the people of both our countries. They don't want to talk about it, but we have to talk about it because the next time they come, we don't know what we're going to do.
Yeah. Yeah, there was an appalling woman, Hilary Barry, who was Shillery. She's nicknamed on our mainstream media. She's been in it for years since I was in there, just boxes on and reads the Autocue night after night, heartless as hell. And she at the height of the madness said, if somebody came to my house for a dinner party and they weren't jabbed, I wouldn't even let. I think it was something like I wouldn't even let them use the toilet in the house. They would be outside in the garden. It was along those lines. Someone sent it to me, and she wasn't worth listening to, so I never watched her show. But many people reported how brutal she was, and she was leading the charge on Jacinda's cheerleaders. And what happens to those people? I mean, we've all said this before, Michael? I used to think there's no way all those chimneys were going off in Nazi Germany. There's no way all the villages nearby would have looked the other way. After
Yeah.
COVID, it's like, I totally get it. And there was a meme
Yeah.
saying, if you want to know who you really are, you've had a chance to see who you really are in the last 5 years since the
Yeah.
COVID pandemic was called.
Yeah. Well, say at the
Wow.
moment, Israel is doing this horrendous constant attack on Gaza, and everyone's railing up about it and saying it's disgusting. But even the Australians that are calling it out like it would never happen here, Australia has the record for the world's most successful genocide of all time. That's the Tasmanian Aborigines. I'm sorry, but they did it.
They
They
drove
weren't
them
like
off a
they
cliff,
weren't
didn't
like
they?
mainland Aborigines. They were a different race, and they're all gone. We did that, and we don't. And we don't talk about it. We never bring it up. We just get on with our lives. Instead, we chastise other countries for doing genocide. And I'm not saying we're not saying that it's okay what Israel is doing, but who are we to be so judgmental? You know?
I was at law school with a guy, Dave. I won't say his surname, but his great grandmother was part of those Aborigines, and she was very smart. She allied herself with a powerful white Australian, and so the lineage continued. He was actually a playwright as well as
Oh
a law
wow,
student with me. Yeah, he was a really good Renaissance man, but that side of his family, almost nobody discussed it. There's a huge story there, those Tasmanian Aborigines.
enormous.
Um, what was it like? I wanted to know in those nights when you were wandering the hallways, sometimes in the hospital, and
Oh
you were facing your own mortality. I
yeah,
was fascinated to know if it frightened you or intrigued
no,
you, or
no, it didn't frighten me.
mm,
Uh, you were just aware of it. I was actually thinking, okay, well, here I am, there's death stalking me. And, but the most profound moment was I was just wandering around and I did get frustrated at one moment. I called my father, I think. I did get frustrated. But that was one moment, I think.
what was the
Uh,
frustration, Michael?
uh there's just so much hard work, so much to do, so much loss, so much here, and it was all going to end here in this hospital. And but I got past that. I thought, oh, this is just how it is. And but then I walked
Did you have an
into.
urge to make peace with him or to have him see the world through your eyes, or was
Oh
it?
no, Dad and I are good now. We're good. No, I actually reached out to him just as a son to a father, which is a gorgeous thing. Not that he's he's not he just is who he is. But it was lovely to chat to him. But I think he was very concerned. And then I walked into this tiny little sort of patient library where patients had left books. And one of the books was A Cancer Ward by Solzhenitsyn. I never heard of the book. And it was really big and really heavy. And I thought, well, I'm not going to spend the last few hours of my life reading Solzhenitsyn. It's too depressing. So, but I just glanced through it anyway. You know, I need like an Ogden Nash or a Pam Ayres book or something. Anyway, I opened it up, uh, and I came, and it was a profound moment in my life. So there I am. It's about 1 in the morning. I can't sleep. Devices just hanging off me, and I open it up, and in it there's the hero's in a cancer ward. It's the middle of the night, and he's walking the ward, walking the corridors by himself, contemplating his existence. And I was like going, so the fact, the
That's
correlation just really, yeah, it just made me think, oh well, maybe I'm meant to be here doing this, you know? And so who knows? So
That's
yeah, I just went with it.
the opening scene of your next play that you're going to write. I'm sure that'll be it. But I remember that night, and I remember messaging you, and I know Kelly had been amazing, and Rahana had been contacting. Everybody
Yeah.
was asking me how was Michael. There was this holding of the collective breath. And
Yeah.
I think it united a lot of people across Australia too, who'd seen all the days and months and years now of work you've done to get the truth out there. That 832 T-shirt, "The Truth Will Set
Yeah,
You
by
Free."
Ron. Hey, Ronnie.
Thank you, Ron. What a great T-shirt. But this holding of that collective breath, and when you went into the operation the next morning, really, I mean, literally saying those prayers, Michael, because you still have much to do down here. Were
Oh, well, it
you?
was interesting.
Yeah.
You know what? What was really interesting because the Good Friday, I had another heart attack, and I got through that.
Was it as
And they
bad as the first, or was it?
no, I don't think so, but I got through it anyway. And
Mm.
but I remember, and they knew because I was all monitored up. And I was sitting with Cal, and I said to Kelly, they were going to operate on the following Wednesday after Easter. And I remember telling Kelly, I won't be here Wednesday. There's no way I'm going to survive to Wednesday. I remember, and I just knew it. I just could tell my body didn't have 4 days left in it. And and about a minute later, I suppose, not even that, a nurse came in very concerned and said, "We're moving you to Prince Charles Hospital or whatever it's called. They're operating on you tomorrow." And I thought, wow, okay, you're going to fight, I'll fight. And that's what I did.
And I don't know if many people are aware either of the seriousness of the infection. You had a big fight after the operation as you were recuperating, didn't you?
The
It
staph
was
infection.
a staph infection. You know, I've been looking into that because of what you went through, and it looks like chlorine dioxide is really good for that stuff. I must send you
Oh,
some
okay.
of my information on it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what was really interesting, I wrote that piece that I wrote a piece called, I can't remember, but it did really well. You were really lovely. You read it out.
Yeah.
And you did a beautiful job reading it out, Liz.
It was
And so you
beautiful
read it out. It was
writing.
just this piece. And I didn't want to, this was really bizarre. I was good. The part of me that wanted to write, the part of me that was sick was going telling the part of me that wanted to write, let's write it in the morning. Come on. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. And then go, no, no, you got to write it now. You got to write it now. I'm thinking, oh. So I get out the laptop, I write it, edit it, upload it, and I go, okay, done. And then I looked down at my chest because I was sitting up in bed and the wound had opened and I was covered in blood or this goo or what other.
Ugh.
So the infection had broken open. And I remember thinking, uh-oh. and and so then the next journey of getting over the stuff, but it happens a bit apparently. But I got through that too. But I remember when I was writing, I was so into it, I had no concept that I'd sprung a leak.
Who knows, Michael, if you'd just been lying there and it hadn't opened and that stuff hadn't poured out, that might have made it so much worse. It's incredible when we look back over the arc of our
Yeah,
lives.
yeah, yeah.
Things we think, oh, I thought that was a disaster, but it worked out really well. So then I kind of just left you and Kelly to go away quietly and recover from this huge number of assaults and
I'll tell you
dramas that
something
you've been
really funny.
facing. Yeah.
You love this. So next to me was a guy who was slightly older than me, but he had a beard, grey hair like me. And I was very polite with the nurses and all the exercises. I was doing all the exercises and I was walking constantly trying to get better. He'd had a lesser operation, but still quite major, but he did nothing. He refused to walk. He just wanted to drink Coke, even though he had diabetes. He'd swear at the nurses really quite aggressively. I told him to shut up a few times. and I just didn't like him. And they somehow life paired us together. Every time I went somewhere, he was there. I was getting so annoyed, and it was this. And then I walked around one night. I was really in a lot of pain. I'm trailing these two different devices. I got this thing sucking on my chest like a leech, and
Getting the
I'm coming
infection out.
back. And I'm
Oh,
really over it. Yeah, it was a vacuum pump, to
oh,
suck the poison out.
yeah.
Anyway, so I get back. The bastard was in my bed. And I
No.
come up and I go, get out of my bed. Anyway, he gets up and I thought, are we going to have the shortest fight in history? Because he's just had a heart attack. I've just had, come on. Oh! They come in and find us both and go, what happened?
Okay, that might be in the denouement of the play. That you got to start writing this play, Michael. You're writing it as we speak. What was with the getting into your bed? Do you think there was something else going on there? Do you think the
Oh, no.
drugs had...
To be honest, I think I was probably a bit tense. I think he's getting a little dementia. He probably mixed it up. I don't know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah. But
Crazy.
there's,
And so do you think actually that moving around just helped you actually, the making sure that you got up and you at least walked the corridors and you know,
Oh,
you
once I'd had the operation, then I
yeah,
was
wise
determined. So
man.
I was constantly walking, climbing stairs. Yeah,
Yeah.
I was determined to get better. It was just the staff threw me around a bit, but I've been doing pretty well,
Yep.
pretty well. So I was
I
determined to
I
do better.
remember someone who had a terrible car accident, and as soon as he possibly could, after all the staples and the metal and everything was inserted into him, he made himself cross the road and went over to a park. This was in Christchurch, and knelt on the grass. He sort of managed to get
Wow.
down on the grass, touch it, remind himself of why he was here, and then
Yeah,
he walked and walked
beautiful.
and walked, and they were just staggered by how quickly he recovered. I think
Yeah.
that's something very interesting. I've been looking a lot at hospitals as well. I mean, there should be sunroofs in our hospitals where patients used to be able to go up on
Yeah,
sort
that's
of top
true.
of these little hospitals and recover. So I left you last, really, Michael, coming out of the hospital, still with a pump on your chest. You were
Mm.
in the bus, Kelly was driving, and you were saying, we're going to a friend's house. And I was so thankful someone had offered you a house for
Yeah, that's
rest and
Pete. Yeah,
recovery.
we owe a lot to Pete. Yeah,
What
he
a
gave us a
beautiful...
place to recover. Yeah, that
There are
was great.
some gorgeous souls out there. Thank you, Pete.
Yeah.
And what was that like? Was it by the beach or was it
Yeah, it
just...
was by the beach. I felt a bit spoilt actually. I'd never lived that close to the beach, so we'd walk on the beach a few times a day,
Wow.
and basically just got better bit by bit. That's all.
And did you tune out of everything, out of the world, and just be in your little bubble?
I watched a lot of movies. No, I did writing. I worked on the essays, but I just took it easy on myself. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you feel out of it with all the drugs you'd been on and all the assault on your body?
Uh, Not really, no. The drugs, the painkillers was a no, endone, I think. Uh, no, it was just I was more excited to get back to it. Then what you do is you're back. You're going, okay, well, what do you want me to do? You got me back here. Have
Yeah.
you got a plan,
And did he
Stan?
say, I
You know?
want you to do nothing? Did he give you a sign, just sit on the beach and get well?
So yeah, so no, so it's just where we are, and now we're back. Now we're into working again. Um.
What has changed though, Michael? It must have changed things up a bit.
I'm not going as super fast as I used to. So I've done
Yeah.
some interviews later. I'm calling them Exodus interviews because what I believe is happening now is a spiritual exodus
Mm.
where everywhere people are going, there's nothing for me the way the government's taking us. I
Yes.
can see that where they're taking us is simply not conducive to the human soul. And so, but they don't know where to go. But they're sort of how would you say it? I watched I interviewed a man yesterday who's one of his fathers was abusive, and he said after he knocked out his mother one night, and from that moment, the mother, every time the father was out, she was packing ready to go. She was getting it all to go, but made it look like she was staying, but in actual fact, she was preparing to leave. And I think many people in New Zealand and Australia, probably Canada, were kind of doing the same spiritually. I
Yeah.
think we're thinking we don't want to go here. We don't want to stay here, but where do we go? And so I'm interviewing people and starting to write about that because I think that's historically what's happening now. And I think we'll end up somewhere beautiful. I'm even the WHO, Australia's just signed itself up to the WHO, and they're talking about mandatory vaccines and stuff. A part of me is hoping they do push that because I think if they try, Australians, like not all of them, but the healthy majority of Australians, I think, are going to go, nah, nah.
Yes.
You're not
Yeah,
going to
I
come into
agree.
my house and inject me with something I don't know what it is. It's not going to happen. The first time we did it's like a Pearl Harbor attack, and you conned us so well. We thought, okay, fair enough, no more. And so to me, it's like signing the treaty is one thing, enforcing the treaty, bring it on.
I
You
think
know?
that's really interesting. New Zealand's having another version of that. It's really dark. It's called the Gene Technology Bill, and Parliament may well sign it into an act, into a statute, into a law in New Zealand this week. And it's absolutely dark. It is,
Yeah,
it's the whole pandemic, but written under another guise. It's going to allow this beautiful island nation that could be the food, the organic food basket of the world, to have nothing
absolutely.
but GE foods, genetically tested population. They're going to treat us as a petri dish. I mean, under medical procedures, basically, they're saying we can put any hazardous substance into you, we can put any technology into you. It's having spent 5 years just giving my all to say, New Zealand, please wake up to what is going on. I thought, wow, this must be a reflection of how fast asleep our country is. If we have
Mm,
to go to this much pain, but at some point the pain threshold will be too much for too many people,
mm.
and the many will overcome the few who are trying to do this. But it is evil still what they're
I
doing. I mean,
personally wouldn't want to
oh,
be the inoculator that had to go around and inoculate a load of Maori men.
yeah.
I wouldn't like that job.
And that's, I mean, that's the thing. They, just as no man will rape me, they will not rape me with their needles. I will stand on my feet, and I don't have to stay here. But if you try to come and force me, I will
Yeah.
always have options, and I will die without any forced needles going into my body because it's a
What?
principle now. How dare you?
Evil.
It's totally evil.
What are you
And
talking
it's
about?
I
You
would
know,
die, in other words, like the slaves. I actually am not going to die a slave. I'm going to die a free woman, whatever that takes. And there's such a liberation with that,
yeah,
because then our courage can light up the courage of others. But they're still as mad as bloody hatters at a Mad
yeah,
Hatter's Tea Party. I look at Gates now and think, what a psychopath. He
yeah.
just needs to go. And Albo and Luxon, our smiling Humpty Dumpty Prime Minister, always smiling at everybody, a bit like doing with his big teeth and these dead eyes. And he's
Yes.
just rolling out the globalist agenda with his smile and telling us, that it's all fine and go back to sleep. And we're
Yeah.
not.
Yeah,
So, in the,
I've never known a time in my life where our leaders are so out of touch with the people.
yeah,
There's no
purposefully
way you
so.
can say they're serving us.
No,
They're just so out of touch. And they've got those, like you said, inane smiles, you
yeah,
know, while almost Rome's burning, you
yep.
know? Yeah.
Yeah. And they simply don't listen. That's the thing about this gene technology bill, which if they get it away in New Zealand, it'll then hop across the Tasman. So
Yeah.
keep in touch with that. But this bill, if they can do it, they're going to be so exposed. Luxon needs to know that he will be exposed as one of the world monsters. And I think he's scared of that. I think
Mm.
he wants to smile his way through, but they all have to pay the globalist piper. Meantime, we have to live our lives free of
Mm.
fear. And do you manage that, Michael? Do you manage to
Oh,
say,
yeah, I'm
well,
not frightened.
no, I'm
I
not
don't have
either.
any fear. I don't have any hate. I did that
Yeah.
in a speech on the weekend, um, where you would have done the same, Liz. I said that, 5 years ago, I grabbed a microphone and a webcam and I sailed into a sea of hate.
Yeah.
There was those hating me, those trying to convince me to hate other people. Everywhere
Mm.
I go, everybody was trying to go either to hate me or get me to hate someone apart from our
Yes.
tribe. And it hasn't worked. I'm here and I don't have any hate. I
That's
have
beautiful.
grief. I have frustration and despair. I have bewilderment. a lot of that, and yeah, but no hate and no fear. They're not going to do it to me. They'd have to kill me. Kill
Yeah.
me. You're not going to make me do something I don't want to do because I'm a free man, and that's how I'm going to die. Yeah.
How is the freedom movement over in Australia? Because there's been so much division here in New Zealand. And there are people leaving New Zealand with muttering, oh, it's a country of, they cut the tall poppies down. If you shine in New Zealand, there's all this jealousy. And there has been that. I think it's really sad because I always thought we were really a version of what my father always talked about in the war. He said, didn't matter what background you came from, it didn't matter who you were, we were all on the same side, and we were cobbers, we were brothers, we were there for one another, no matter what. But
Yeah.
that hasn't happened in the freedom movement in New Zealand. And I talk to people like, Andrew Bridgen in the UK. I talk to Jim Ferguson. He knows also in Ireland, there's a lot of division purposefully put into the freedom movement in each country. And I think that's
Yeah.
part of the global agenda. How is it in Aussie, as far as you know?
Well, strategically, they would have been expecting us to rise up.
Yeah,
So strategically too, are they stopping for us, Cal? Strategically too, they would have prepared for that.
yeah.
We have certain leaders who, from the beginning, have been able to say, really, been able to say the things that you and I would get arrested for, which always makes you wonder, well, how come they haven't been arrested? Uh, you would expect them to infiltrate us because
Yes,
I would do that. And you don't need to be a rocket science to see that's a clever thing to do. Trade, and try score cause division. Um, what I've sort of been telling people, I'll send you this speech I did from this free speech summit on the weekend. A lot of people going crazy about it, but in there, I I put that it's actually time now. We're veterans, Liz. You don't
yes,
have to prove yourself to anyone. If someone in the movement doesn't like you, if someone in the movement doesn't like you, then that's their problem. So I was
absolutely.
telling people the other night, we have Cafe Locked now is a community of podcasters. I think there's 12, and
Gosh, that's good.
Cafe Locked is still here 5 years on. We're still here. And we
Yeah,
have one policy. We don't put other freedom people down online. We just don't do it. And we don't do that because we're scared of them. We do that because we don't want to spread division. And I was sort of telling people, so if you've got an issue with someone, either take it to them or suck it up.
yeah.
Because when the other people wake up or realize that they have to find another tribe. We are the only tribe out there. And if we're just bitch fighting over ridiculous issues, then we're of no use to them, we're of no use to ourselves, no use to our kids or grandkids, no use to anybody.
Mm.
We have to actually learn that freedom comes with responsibility, and the responsibility is we have to get better at doing this. So anyone who's attacking anyone in the freedom movement from leaders, this is in New Zealand. I know it happens everywhere. You've really got to question why.
Yes,
Why are you doing it? What are you possibly trying to achieve? You're trying to make numbers. You think by spreading hate and division we're going to grow. It's time to actually accept the responsibility that we are the defenders of what we believe is humanity. And so we have to act like that. We've got to find an ability. We've got to find a fortitude, a resilience, which we already have. And we've just got to realize there is at play, there is something more powerful and more important than our own individual egos. So if I felt it didn't matter, there's 11 podcasters in Cafe Locked Out that would take my place. So this is it. I also think, how would I say it the other day? Um, I also think we have to remind ourselves, because this is the best way to put it. Uh, a lot of people want us to unite and they grieve for the fact that we're so divided. But we have a paradox at the core of our tribe. And that is the reason we didn't take the vaccine is because the vast majority of us are black sheep, meaning we critically think and we have the courage to stand alone
Yes.
if even if the tribe goes left, if we think the right is the way, we've got the courage to do that. We're
That's
of that
it.
rare group. But the paradox is that we find it very hard to do herds because we're black sheep.
It's
So we don't
beautiful.
like other people telling us what to do, even if it's our own people. And so rather than trying to set up one leader with all these followers, that won't happen because we're not followers. I think the glue that holds us together is respect. We respect each other. I have enormous respect for you, Liz. Enormous respect for Dr. Oosterhouse, Phil Altman, these others. Just enormous respect. Respect is the glue. If you find someone you can work together with as a team, fantastic. But the reason groups break up is someone finally stands up. They've finally got the courage to stand up. They want to do something. They don't want to wait in line for someone to give them permission to do it. They just want to run. And so we have to not hunger for something we're never going to get, which is unity. Instead, we have to think it like there's a mountain of liberty and everyone has their own idea of how to climb it. Well, climb it in your own way. The closer we get to the summit, we will unite because there's going to be little room up there. But do it. I know Dr. William Bay had this enormous win, but he's so controversial. Even in the freedom movement, most people had cut him out of their lives. They'd cut him out of their lives. Even a lot of freedom people, when they wanted to congratulate him, had to call me to get his number. And I stood by him, and I try to stand by everyone I can, simply because you don't know. We don't know what idea will work. That's arrogance to think your idea will work, because we don't have the truth. All we have is a quagmire of bullshit, and that we're turning it over and we're looking for facts. You know what I mean? And trying to ascertain what's going on. Because as independent journalists, we don't have access to interview Jacinta Ardern or Albo or anyone else that is an architect behind what's happening. We're not going to get to question them, at least for a long time, until we get more powerful. So all we can react to and all we can build our theories upon is the little snippets of truths that we get, and we're not even sure they're real. How do you know we're not being fed stuff to make us look crazy? You know, it's sort of time to be really healthily skeptical and follow the one thing we do have, which is this inner voice, this sort of compass in our soul, which points us, which lets us all know we're on the right road, even if we don't know where we're going. So it's a leap of faith time where you decide, nope, I know that's wrong. I know that's wrong. I don't know what is right, but I've got a calling to go this way, and I'm going to go this way. And even if I'm completely wrong, say I get to the end of my life and I suddenly have a moment of clarity and I realize I was completely wrong. I should have just got vaccinated. But I don't think that would equate to an unworthy life. I think, no, I believed something and I gave my life to it, and I'm okay with that. And what happens, what happens. It's my life. I get to choose what I do with it. And I choose to fight what I think is good about humanity and worth fighting for. We've got AI breathing down our neck. Even though a lot of us use it as a tool now, there's a big thing came out today from 40 major AI scientists who said they're very concerned that they're losing control of it. And so they've got AI, and then we got our own leaders who are just vaccine bonkers, and we've got the power stuff, the climate change. We've got all these fronts, and the only real thing we have is this sense inside, this compass, each other. And this is what I'll say to everyone in New Zealand from the freedom movement who's watching. And this is when it comes to division. This is just one word of warning. There's no other tribe out there waiting to adopt our orphans. If you leave our freedom movement, then there's no one else. We're it. And the only reason we survived what they threw at us initially is each other. And now is the time to take a moment, sit down, look back in your rear vision mirror, and realize the one thing we're forgetting is in a time of darkness, we rose like an army of light. And we were beautiful. And we were beautiful to each other. And we are the reason we're still here. So we have to revere that. And we have to protect that. And we have to learn. I think I would advise people to learn levels of decorum in which to have discussions with each other. So, say in Australia, I would say the common law group, the constitutional people, my place, Stand in the Park, Forest of the Fallen, they're like little tribes within the greater tribe. And I think these little tribes should be treated like that. So if you want to come and get the tribes together, you treat it almost like a corroboree. These are little tribes full of people who passionately believe what they believe. These people passionately believe what they believe. But we're all in the same great tribe. And that tribe is basically fighting to defend humanity. It's a worthy fight. That makes
Michael,
sense.
there are times when I talk to you, I mean, I just feel you're downloading from somewhere beyond. It's so beautiful.
I got close.
I hope your father sees this. I hope he sees what a magnificent son he has. I would add something else. When I was in mainstream media, and it's very seductive, you know, you go in there and I would see many of the youngsters do this. They'd get sort of drunk on the sense of I'm suddenly a face that's known out there, and I'm on TV every night or every once a week, and it's seductive initially, and then it feels like that piece of cake that you eat that has a gorgeous looking icing, but you eat it and you think, ugh, that was way too sweet and it was sugary. And I actually just felt like a nice boiled egg that was really nutritious. So I very quickly came to that in mainstream media, and part of it was that look, I had a boss who saw that I had ability, and so within 3 months he threw me on the national news. But it wasn't inherently because of me, I don't think. It was because he was annoyed with one of these stars. Carl Stefanovic, funnily enough, was a youngster in the newsroom when I was in there. Yeah, he was just a kid in his first or second year. But it was one of these stars was being difficult and not going along with what he wanted. So he said, I'll throw that new girl on. So he puts me on, 6 o'clock news, and I get a really good public response. And unbeknown to me, Michael, there was just such jealousy. And I was thinking, all I did was read an auto cue. It's not rocket science. This is not taking many brain cells. And so because of that, I rose fast. And when I chose to use my little bit of platform here 20-something years ago to highlight the beating of children in New Zealand, child abuse in New Zealand is really serious. And it is very serious, the violence to Māori and Pacifica children. Particularly, and there were a lot who were in the children's hospital at that stage. And that kind of went crazy. And then I realized afterwards, after I'd been through a lot of abuse, they went to kill the messenger so they didn't have to listen to the message. So that was when I had the first taste of it. But having gone through that little arc very quickly of, this is kind of fun, and then this is kind of empty, and then this is kind of brutal, in the years since, I realized how utterly vacuous and empty and meaningless it is to pursue fame or power over others or even money. I mean, we need money to survive, but that, none of those things can be what informs my life. But what really does light up my life is where you do something that makes the world a bit of a better place and a kinder place. And I remember when I stood after having done all this journalism, and I decided there was no one I wanted to vote for on the last election, and this name came to me in the middle of the night, Loyal. It came like golden letters coming out of the darkness. It was the oddest thing. It was the most beautiful thing, actually. It felt like someone handed it to me. And I thought, well, we'll give it a go. And again, I saw all that jealousy. I saw people who were supposedly standing for freedom saying, you can't have a small party. You're not allowed to do this. This isn't right. You must join us. We must all unite. And I was thinking, I thought you all stood for freedom. So through all of this, my only home was to say, hold your dignity, hold your silence, Keep doing the work you can to the best of your ability. Check in with your own motivations. Have you done it from any need for power? No. For money? No. For fame? No. It's utterly vacuous. It's building your house on sand. It's washed away in a wave. Are you doing it because that whole thing my father did in the war? Because other men have done that. They've really sacrificed for our generation. Am I going to honor that? Am I going to make a better world if I can for my grandchildren? Am I going to show all the courage I didn't even know I have, even in the face of the horrors? And so it's been a really rugged, brutal journey. And I think in New Zealand more than Australia, there is a real tall poppy syndrome, and jealousy is a real thing. But to hold one's dignity, Michael, which I think you do really well, to come back and regroup, and even just with a very small inner circle go, that is all I need. Some pure souls around me, some good souls, some kind souls, and the motivation to add something positive to the world. Because God, at the end of our lives, and you face death, and I had an experience of being near death with a heart issue 15 years ago. You realize you take none of the worldly plaudits or praises or money or stuff or cars or houses with you. You take the kindness you showed, and I mean kindness in the real sense, not Jacinda Ardern, and the goodness that was shown to you by others, the love that was shown to you by others. That's all we
beautiful.
take.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone in New Zealand who was praying for you. We couldn't keep up with the amount
That's
of
gorgeous.
and it was humbling because a lot of people were very concerned that they were going to lose me, which is,
Very.
so that was, is a very humbling experience. And but I just want to get back to one thing, especially about the division you said with that party of people telling you off like that.
Yeah.
I think there's a lesson for us to learn. There's some things that I think we can improve upon. I'll briefly talk about this other thing I suggested, but I grew up as a Catholic, and I moved away from it. But I always loved the teaching of Jesus. But there's always one thing that I could never understand, and that's when he said, "Turn the other cheek." But now when I watch Israel and Palestine and all this, we've seen all this hate all our lives, and I've seen the amount of hate going at me. I mean, when I was in hospital, the trolls were on fire hating me.
That was
And
disgusting.
yeah. But
Oh my God.
and I
And
want to
that
do
will
a big
all come
thanks
back
to
on them.
Robin from Courage is the Cure, because Robin really kept Cafe Locked Out alive. So I really want that put up. She was amazing.
Yes, Robin,
But
I watched you and you were terrific. You were
right,
stoical.
she
Yeah.
was. She's great.
Yeah.
But what I realized is the hate stops with me, because hate wants um
To feed on,
it wants to
it
feed.
does.
It wants an opponent. So I'll
It's
hate you, you hate me,
parasitic.
hate,
Yeah.
and we just build it up. And eventually we do that. Our country ends up like Israel, Palestine. I
Yes.
think turn the other cheek means basically, no, the hate stops with me. I'm not joining you.
And that goes back to that dignity, and it goes back to
Yeah.
that. Actually, it's the most beautiful way to find what you have in terms of resources for your inner peace. No
Yeah.
matter what is peace to you, Michael? For me, it's no matter what is going on around me, no matter what people say or do, can I access my own peace? Because it's easy to be peaceful when I've got millions of dollars and I'm in, Hawaii sipping cocktails on the beach, and you and Kelly wander up and I go,
Well, I
"Hi, isn't life perfect?" But it's when we've got no money and people are telling lies, and you've done your
uh,
best and your heart's broken. Can you still access some place that says
oh
your
yeah, yeah.
dignity and your
I
silence? Yeah.
enjoy the writing. There's I enjoy the writing of it, and I enjoy the philosophy really more than the writing. I I I really seriously enjoy trying to understand what's going on at a very simple level. It's very complicated. It can seem overwhelming, but why are people doing it this way? What's the motivation behind it?
Yeah,
What are
beautiful.
they trying to achieve? Do people really not care about whether something's a truth or a lie? Do they just think, is it like a game? If a lie gets me more than the truth, should I just go with the truth, go with the lie? Or I don't know, I'm fascinated by people because I've never had a time in my life where I truly didn't understand people. And I've
Yes.
seen love get defeated by fear, the sort of love that I thought nothing could defeat. But I've seen fear defeat love. And I see a country now beset by silence. People are just defaulting to silence. And I I see this. I think this is a great testing ground. I see people waiting and hoping for a savior to come along. They thought it was Trump, Kennedy, whoever. They're waiting for someone to save them. Where I think this period now, even if it takes a long time, this is the time for humans to save themselves. We've been
Yes.
lied to for centuries. And I think we have the ability now to defeat all of those who would oppress us and create uh, a reality where humans are at the core. I know it's not a 100% chance we'll do that, but the possibility is there if enough people wake up with sort of a renaissance for humanity, because humanity now is literally on the edge, that there could be a future that's has more abundance spiritually than any of us could possibly conceive. But I think it's possible for us to reach it. Uh, and but it's a hard fight. But I don't think I know that just facts aren't the weapon we need to wake people up. I think it's worth. I think it's giving them worth because the future, the WHO and all those are offering people is worthlessness. You're a useless eater. So why go there? Well, we have worth. We're interested in you as a human being, you yourself. I was telling Dave on Eggs today that I think in life there's various challenges. Your first challenge is to escape the prison guard, which is what will other people think of me? You pick them up in school, and that spirit that you build, that society gives you, just spends its whole life trying to keep you silent or saying things that you think you should say rather than what you want to say. So once you get rid of them, you reach a point where you don't give a shit what people think about you, which is a really hard journey. Then it's the journey to find out who you are. And I think if we could sell it over time, you realize what did you come here for? Did you really come here just to pay off bricked up air, spend your life paying up bricked up air, and to hide who you really are away from the world and just go to the grave like who you were never existed? Or uh, are you willing to accept the real miracle is that you, Liz, well, I don't have to tell you because you're already there, but say you went, Liz, you say you were a different Liz, that you're unique, Liz. You're unique. We got 8 billion people on the planet. You might look like this person, you might think like this person, but all your ingredients put together is Liz Gunn. What a gift. And once you get to the point of you're yourself, that something changes. I was talking to Brady Gunn today. Brady Gunn was the guy that invented Stand in the Park, the founder of Stand in the Park. I
Oh,
adore the man.
really?
Yeah, oh
Gosh,
yeah, he's an amazing guy. I'll give you his number. You
I'd
should
love
interview
it.
him.
He might be a distant relative.
He's amazing, Brady
Wow.
Gunn. And so he started that, and he's the same with me. I said all my life, even when I was doing theater or shitty jobs or in relationships here, there was always a distance. There was always a piece removed. Like I remember sometimes I'd have a play on, I'd have a really good house, everyone would be going crazy, and I'd feel like a tourist. I didn't really feel I was there. But in these last 5 years, I'm always present. I never fantasize about being anywhere else. I'm always present. I'm always here. I'm always
Yes.
thinking forward. What can we do to improve? How are we going to get over this problem? Is there anything I can do to help in any way? This is how I live and breathe.
And you're always
And
raw and brave in terms of honesty. And that
Yeah.
liberates others. You know, that beautiful, when you let your light shine the way you do, it liberates those you interview to let their
Yeah.
light shine.
And that
And how
light's in
many
everybody.
interviews?
It's not a
Yeah.
rare light. You've got
Yes.
it in you. I've seen it. We look at the amount of people we know. We're
Yeah.
surrounded by giants. And that's why I call it an army of light. Because once you
Yes.
stand up and you go, I'm me and I'm Joe Blogs, and I know you think I'm an anonymous name, but I'm the real Joe Blogs, and I don't agree with this, and this is what I think, and you shine. I think you become a very powerful human being, and the other side does not want you to recognize your power, and they certainly don't want you to release it. So,
They
yeah,
don't want you to release it. Absolutely. And they want to cut it down and make
yeah,
it small so they
yeah.
don't feel small. But I want everybody to absolutely be as magnificent as they can be. I
Why
could
not?
talk to you for hours longer. I'm talking to a magnificent soul next, Iris Coe up in Singapore. And I might say to her that maybe you could follow up with an interview as well.
Sure.
She's,
I've
yeah,
just
she's a,
got one idea to post to you though before we go.
yeah.
This is what I brought up on the weekend, and lots of people in Australia are talking about it now. They're contacting me. The woke, the LGBT community, have been around as much as we have, and they fight online like we do. But I don't think that
I don't. And I don't
they don't
think
get
you do.
censored as much as us. No, wait, I am going somewhere with this. They don't get
Yeah.
censored as much as us. But even if they did get censored, they've fixed a problem that we have not addressed yet. They have a uniform. It's colored hair and the courage to wear it. You might not like them, you might detest what they stand for, but you still know what they stand for. You still know who they are as they're walking down the street with their colored hair. The hippies were the same. They had a uniform. They didn't have Instagram. The Sikhs have the same with their turban. They take a lot of shit, but the more shit they take, it just makes them strong. You think, wow, how strong they are. Everyone calls them name, and yet they're still walking down the road proudly. As yet, we don't have a uniform. You take a group of us, pick us up, drop us in a supermarket, we vanish. And I think one way to tackle the fact that online the algorithms now are keeping us in a echo chamber. Even our big names, they might think they're just bouncing around like an echo chamber. Other people do not know we exist. And that's why the people in the hospital didn't know about us. They never see any of our stuff in their algorithms. They're protected from us. So we have to find a way to reach them on a daily basis, which has nothing to do with online. And I think it's a uniform. But I don't know what it is. Whether it's a range of colors, I don't think it's a t-shirt. Whether it's a range of colors, Palestine protesters have the scarf. The Jews have the skull cap. The Amish dress like Amish. You don't need to know their policies, or you don't need to ask them. You just look at them and go, oh, he's Amish. And you know exactly a vague idea of what they are. And I think we could do with one as well. I think it should be a competition maybe tell Jim, a competition to the world. There must be some fashion designers who could come up with something and suddenly we're wearing it. And if you go to a supermarket in, say, Auckland, or you came to Sydney and Bankstown and you went into a supermarket and suddenly there's 50 or 60 people in the supermarket in the uniform, suddenly you're going to get more courage. My people are here. Where at the moment you go to Sydney and I'm an unvaccinated Geiger counter. If there's someone in the supermarket who's unvaccinated, they'll come up and go, aren't you the cafe guy? At least. But I can walk around and no one knows me from anything. Same with Hoodie, same with all these other people I talk to. In the community, we're well known. Outside the community, we're anonymous. And so there's not that many of us. And so I think to use our army um, more productively, if the people had some sort of uniform where they could be seen, we might start to have a very scary, profound effect because I think other people might go, who are these people wearing that thing? They find out about us, they check us out, and they go, I like them. They join us, and then we're a movement and we're growing. That's how the hippies did it. They didn't have Instagram, they had art, and they had tie dye.
It's
Lots of
gorgeous.
marijuana.
Once I interviewed Andrew Bridgen, and I thought he'd left on his lapel by mistake some kind of large paperclip. So when we finished and we were off air, I went, "Oh, Andrew, I didn't want to stop the interview. It was so good, but you did leave this paperclip on your top. It doesn't really matter." But he went, "No, I wore that on purpose. I was given it from some Scandinavians, I think it was. And I think it was World War II, it was used as a signal to each other. I'm part of the resistance." And it was just, and it's so subtle, but it's not subtle. Your eye is really drawn to it. But it's a kind of everyday item. And I think that is a great idea. I'll put it to Jim as well.
Yeah,
I
and
could
put it
talk to
as a
you.
competition. This is it. Who's going to be the designer? And there could be money in it, because we need to talk about money coming to
Yes.
supporting ourselves. We're talking about 832 op shops because there's
Nice.
it's time for us. What I said at this meeting the other day, I said we have to stop thinking like sprinters, looking for this silver bullet. We are marathon runners, and chances are it's a relay marathon, and we've got the first baton. Our job is to try recruit as many as we can, define and keep our principles alive, and start building the foundation for those that will follow us. This is what we believe. These are sort of the rules we decided. We don't attack each other online. This is this, and start building like that for the others that will follow us. And that's a great honor to be that. Even if we're not the ones that will reach the promised land, then through our actions, we can lay down on the road like beacons so those following us can know they're on the right path. And that's an honorable life.
I'm going to put the piece that I read out of yours underneath. But sometimes, even with people who aren't supportive of me, I'll read their pieces out just to amplify. Beyond not cutting each other down, let's amplify each other's great work.
Yeah.
Let's really, really celebrate when somebody does a good piece of work on behalf of freedom. I think that's wonderful.
I totally agree.
I just love talking to you, Michael, and I will give your best to Iris Coe too. I know she'd love to catch up with you, but it really is a treat.
I'm back now. I'm firing. I'm interviewing people, but I'm more interested in people and the philosophy of our times than just the facts. There's a lot of people doing the facts. I'm more interested in cementing who we are as a people, because Liz, you're a major giant in this. We are a good people. We are a good, strong, resilient people, and we do have problems, but every problem is solvable. And we just need to remember that a love of freedom is what got us to here. So whatever our fundamental principles are, a love of humanity is one of its core principles. And to finish with this thought up recently, and it's really given me hope. Every time someone calls you a name, Liz, no matter how vile it is, allow it to just give birth to hope within you. And this is the reason. I reckon the Romans had a load of terms to call Christians, and they probably used the same condescending tone that they used to call us cookers and anti-vaxxers. Yes. And the Romans had all the power, all the weapons, all the money, and they had lions. But they are gone, and the Christians are still here. And us anti-vaxxers are going to survive all of this because they're sticks and stones. They don't break our bones.
Oh, Michael Gray Griffith, you're a treat. Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Lovely to talk. And you look so alive and so full of vitality. And we'll talk again soon, Michael. Thank you.
I love it. Love it. Take care.